Reading, understanding, and processing business documents like contracts, annual reports, and press releases is a business-critical activity that involves hundreds of hours of subject matter experts' time. How about delegating this complex task to AI? Botminds AI technology understands and processes business documents just like humans. Botminds can do the first-pass processing for you and can convert even a 1,000-page document into a simple summary. Subject matter experts only have to do quick validations and corrections, thereby realizing a 90% saving in time spent. Botminds can be customized for your document types within a few minutes in a one-time process. You upload your documents and teach the system what it should look for in the documents with a few examples and get AI-powered document processing for your enterprise immediately. Botminds is for intelligent document process automation in minutes.
Well, thank you everyone for joining in. We have a couple of topics today, and a few of them that you see on the screen essentially are how do we go beyond, OCR and RPA. And all of this idea is to look at, document processing, document understanding, which essentially is a very large part of data that we currently handle. So Gartner essentially estimates that over 80% of the data that we currently have as part of our enterprises is unstructured data, and only 20% of that is structured data. Now, RPA has kind of taken, a very good leap in terms of its usability in last, couple of years, although it's been around for about 18, 20 years, roughly in one shape or the other. But RPA essentially starts with handling only structured data or semi-structured data. By that, if you already have a predefined process, you have structured data, RPA can handle that. Yes, of course, the boundaries of RPA has been expanded, in the last 2.5 years with the addition of intelligent automation when it comes down to building the other components of AI and so on and so forth. But complete automation essentially requires you to handle the unstructured data as well. And as the poll that I just ran, a couple of minutes ago, I think there are certain, candidates which already exist, which means that you have unstructured data within your organizations and you're either handling them manually or you're handling them otherwise. So what different types of unstructured data essentially is you've got, PDF documents, you've got your contracts, you've got your lease documents, you got your open web as well, where data essentially does not exist in any particular structure. And before going through on that, I just hope you have all gotten a bit of idea in terms of how to use that poll. I want to be able to use that a couple of questions to you. I'll ask that in the middle of my presentation just to make it a bit more interactive. Even though I'll be speaking for the first 15-20 minutes, I want to get some input and feedback from you during that time. So we also see that the unstructured data essentially is expected to grow annually between 55 to 65% per year. What that really means is that we do need to have a way of handling unstructured data. Currently, it's an RPA plus or manual plus, some of the ways. So today, I hope to be able to give you certain answers or certain thoughts in terms of how we look at it as an unstructured data. All right. So looking at this, chart here, you see on the x-axis, you've got the potential business impact. On the y-axis, you've got the ease of automation, low and high. So very first section which exists is the data that is processed currently regularly with automation. And that's where most of the organizations at the moment operate, because it's an easy to process data that's low hanging fruit. You look at the processing that gets done either in the offshore BPO, KPO, or with your clients, and then we look at those as the possibility. And these are very easy candidates. The second piece that comes in is under the category of hard to process data, which essentially requires some bit of manual handling, which is either massaging the data or preparing the data so your RPA can kick in, so your other BPM processes can kick in and start handling it in some automated fashion. Now, the third, and this example would be your large documents, documents which have multiple attachments, documents which span through multiple sub-documents, as well. The third category of data is your hard to understand data, which is not usually automated and mostly manually processed because the technology that currently exists is not ready to a large extent to handle. It's already, it's of course in a very development stage. Technology has moved leaps and bounds, but the things like tables, complex documents, presentations, multi-column tables, etc. For us human beings, tables are very easy to understand, but for a machine to read, for a system to read, it still reads left to right, and that is not the right way of reading a table. So these are the sections which are hardly automated. And usually most of the organizations are pretty happy, automating pieces which is easy to process and then looking at how to process that. They don't usually try looking at something that is hard to understand, looking at automating that. And beyond this is the dark data zone, which essentially exists, which is very, very hard to acquire. It's basically open data. And what that means, it's a free-flowing, free form. And imagine the amount of information that you will be able to extract for your organization, for your clients, once you have the access to this dark data zone. Just to put things in perspective, think about Facebook. Think about the other social media tools. Facebook essentially right now has over 5,000 data points on every human being, and that is something that they collect over the entire landscape where we travel, where we surf on the web, and what assets we have, and so on and so forth. And they have the hold or ability to capture all this information and then use and sell it to their advertisers. Of course, we know their business model, but that's where the dominance comes from. All those other social medias, media platforms which do not have a handle or do not have this wealth of data or data points from the dark data zone are not, thriving as much as Facebook at the moment. All right. So with that out of the way, I want to just ask a quick question at the moment. If you could just please either scan, the QR code from your phone, or go back to the same place on Slido and enter this, code over there. If you could just provide me a couple of inputs. The question really is, RPA can automate processes that have unstructured data inputs. I'd really like to know a couple of thoughts, from your side. Do you think it can be done, or do you think it cannot be done at all? I'll just give 30 seconds to this. All right, that's pretty interesting. So we started with RPA cannot automate unstructured data, and we are back with RPA can automate unstructured data. So thank you everyone for your participation on that. I'm going to stop that poll now. So let's look at what, the way, we look at it, the way I look at it, having worked with, the industry leader within RPA, having worked with the, the RPA side and the AI side, as well as the consulting side. So yeah, there is no doubt the RPA is here to stay. It's absolutely, no doubt about that. And there's also no doubt that RPA will definitely grow in terms of the types of things that it can do. But the challenge with RPA really is that it needs to depend on AI, ML, NLP, and other technologies. Now, some of the RPA vendors have decided to embed these technologies within their platform, and some of them have decided to keep it, outside and use the best platform that is kind of available. But a true RPA definition by itself essentially means that it only looks at structured data to a large extent. Yes, we are looking at, expanding the horizon with the intelligent automation, AI, NLP, etc., like I mentioned. So the challenge with handling, RPA or doing it manually or a combination today is that there is a lot of unstructured data, right? I mean, there's 80% unstructured data that exists in the enterprise. There are multiple documents. So it's something that needs to be looked at from multiple angles. And that's where we have KPOs, right? Beyond the BPOs, which essentially BPO is the process that gets, handled, predefined to a certain extent. KPO is knowledge workers. You can mix the definition of what, but the whole idea is that there's an SME sitting on the other side. The knowledge resides within the SME, and he or she needs to take an educated call on the basis of the data that is being presented as an analyst, as a reviewer, and then take some action, right? So there's a knowledge portion which is involved, which is what will come from AI. Doesn't really inherently sit within the RPA. So when you talk about multiple documents, that a lease document needs to be looked at, but there are 7 other attachments to it that need to be considered. We've got a challenge there when it comes down to RPA. Then it comes down to size. Most of these documents have roughly about 100, 200 pages, 1,000 pages, etc. When you look at substituting that or supporting that with manual inputs, then you're looking at context. So a context could essentially get lost. The moment you extract something from a document and send it for a review, unless you're following strictly within the BPM chain, the moment you go into an email, etc., by the time the reviewer comes through and it comes down to the original person, you need to spend some time to see where exactly did I pull this context from, how does it fit in, and so on and so forth. And then you have a chance that a lot of people may be working on the same problem. And because it's people, because it's working on a large processing document, a large document that needs to be processed, it is basically prone to errors. So basically an RPA plus manual could work, but there's a lot of scope for improvement there. So what else can we do? I mean, we can look at organization which essentially can build a solution in-house, and that could be a fantastic option as well. But there are some challenges with that. You've got complexity to build. You of course you need to spend it's expensive to build the entire thing. It is time consuming. You need to hire specific dedicated team of data scientists, data engineers, etc., to be able to put everything together. Even if you do that, the development of AI, if you take on certain models and you basically build on a very specific solution, the edge cases up to a certain extent get left out. You're only 70, 80% of those problems, which could be good enough. But the other problem that comes is that as an organization, if you're a KPO, if you're a BPO, if you're service provider, if you're an investment bank, that is not your core area. Your core area is what you currently do. Building a technology from scratch is possible, but that's not your core area. So a third option that comes out here is that you look at out-of-the-box solution, and which is great. Out-of-the-box solutions are point solutions. So this could be something like invoice processing. This could be something like evaluation of privacy policies, evaluation of the contracts that are being signed. The challenge with out-of-the-box, single point solution is that they are partial solutions to a large scheme of things that you may want to do. What that means is that they may do everything within the invoice processing, but invoice may just be one of the 7 things that you need to do to be able to complete that cycle. They don't handle all unstructured data completely because they only handle the unstructured data that they are meant to handle. And of course, you can read the other points. It's time consuming, integration could be challenged. And if you need to be able to build the entire pipeline for your client or yourself, you need multiple point solutions there. And customization thus could be challenging because you then have to integrate company A with company B and get things to work. And then that brings in, bringing your own IT team. So with all that, now what is it that Botminds has to offer is what I would cover in the next couple of points. So Botminds is an AI platform for knowledge process automation. We have an absolute singular mission that we're on, and be the platform of choice to automate document understanding. We are completely towards, being able to extract information from the documents, regardless of whatever type of document that is, and being able to push it either end to end or push it to the workflow that you may already have, which is your already current investment within, RPA. And the other thing that we want to do is that we don't want it to be an annual solution for you or a year-long implementation. We want to be able to do that, within a couple of weeks' time and get you started with the results. So how this translates really is into three things. Ours is a SaaS-based, platform, and we deal with all type of structured, unstructured data. That's our key here. That's what we want to do. Whether it's your annual reports, your invoices, your lease filings, your research, documents, etc. We want to be able to handle all of that. The second thing that we want to do is that we want to make sure that the training the AI model or being able to create your own AI model should be absolutely simple. Our platform does not require any code. So you just have a simple point and click scenario through which you use our models, multiple models, and then you train with your data. And that gives you end-to-end automation. And in terms of the data, that's usually the biggest challenge with AI, right? I mean, you're looking at a data that, 100,000 data points, million data points over a year before the results come through. Of course, there are multiple advancements. We are not the only ones, doing absolutely, revolutionary things. In certain other cases, this development through ML and NLP already exists, and that's something that we've taken up. We want to make sure that we are able to use that transfer learning. We are able to give you the output through our model within the 100 examples. So you don't need 1,000, 2,000, or 100,000, data points. If you have 100, examples that you can provide, you can use point and click, and then you get your AI model working within, a couple of weeks' time. So how does this entire thing work? We essentially start with an unstructured document. So you have the unstructured document, you put that into Botminds platform, and then you get an interactive content on the right-hand side. And of course, with that, you get a structured summary there. How this looks like within the platform, and I'm going to quickly show a couple of demo and examples as well. But this is roughly what our platform looks like. I mentioned we are a SaaS-based AI platform. So on the left-hand side, you would essentially see a smart document, and on the right-hand side, you would see an extracted summary. Any type of document that is imported onto our platform essentially becomes a smart document. What that really means is that we are then we have already done a slicing and dicing. We have put multiple models on it. We have put semantic understanding, table understanding, and all the other models that are required for that specific document to be able to extract that value. And when you extract the value that shows to you on the right-hand side, you have multiple breakdown that is done. So we have document classification, page level classification, etc. And you have the attributes that you specify, and you have the value that you are looking for. And all of this essentially is very, very interactive. So let me show you a couple of examples here. So the very first one is a complex financial document with tables. Now this is a your annual report, 10K filing, financial statements, etc. So on the left that you would see here, we have our data and document that has come through. On the right is the extracted value. So the way it works, and I'll show you in the demo in just a few minutes, is the way that the moment you click on any piece of information, you have a reference point given on the left side of the document, which is a smart book now, that says that this is where I extracted the value. If I see also extract the information row by row. Now it's kind of important to understand why this is so complex, because for humans, it's easy to understand that these are two tables. Each of the tables has 3 columns. This is a shared value, and this is the fair value, or the amount. But for a machine to learn, they will start reading from left to right, or it'll start reading from left to right as a text, and that doesn't make sense, right? So first, being able to identify where in the entire document is a table that needs to be extracted. Is this the right table that needs to be extracted? Then where is the value? What is the description? And so on and so forth. So there are multiple layers that essentially exist for us to be able to extract this information from something that is absolutely a fundamental data that most of the organizations currently use. Let's take a different example now. Moving from tables, let's go to something that is large documents. As you would see, this document has roughly about 500 plus pages, 530 pages to be precise. What's happening here is that we have trained our AI to be able to extract liquidity damages, quantity variation, and commencement of work as an example. And our AI here has pulled out 3 different candidates for liquidity damages. As you would probably notice, there isn't, in this case, there's a heading that says liquidated damages, but usually it is not necessary that it's a, find and replace scenario. It's basically what what does a liquidated damage look like? What does the quantity variation look like? And it's not just that, we also have validations built in. So when you pull out the liquidity damages, we extract the dollar value, and then we say, okay, is this within the specified prescribed limit that has been given by the client, by the scenario? In this case, it was sub $5,000, seemed to be okay. And that's why it is marked as green. So the validation is done from the risk loss. Anything that is on the borderline is marked as orange, and the one that is not is definitely marked in red. We also have a human in the loop component built in. So anything that needs to be looked at, or the confidence level is not that high from our AI model, essentially gets passed on to a human to look at. Third example that I would show you here would be in terms of M&A, so on merger and acquisition. And this is on the last piece on the hard to acquire, the dark data zone. This is a free web, right? I mean, this is a press release that is published on some website to be able to extract the information that you are looking for, so that you can make the investment decisions, correctly, is a very, very key piece. Most of these, as far as I know, is being done currently manually, or is being done through web scraping engines, which essentially are a far cry from what an AI literally is, or what a solution should be. So here, it's the same logic. We import the web page, we make it a smart document, and then we extract the values from there. So with that, I would just switch over to a demo. And while I'm doing that, I would really appreciate if you could just indulge me in one more poll and see if you have any thoughts on this question. The question really is, AI-based solutions and platforms are too complex and expensive to implement. Very simple yes and no. If you could just give me your thoughts around that, on what you have seen so far and what your experience is, that'll be extremely helpful for the subsequent conversation. I'll leave it up for 30 seconds. All right, thank you. So I think it's, okay, I was about to say it's very close, but now it's overwhelmingly clear that AI-based solutions are definitely very complex and very expensive to implement. And that's been the understanding, within all the participants who have participated so far. So thank you for that. But it doesn't have to be that way, and that's something I'm hoping to be able to show you, as we move forward. All right, so let's go on to a demo piece. Now, I've got three various scenarios, three case studies with the relevant demos, and I aim to walk them through in the next couple of minutes and show you some examples there. Now, this is an annual report. This is a large investment bank, and a rating agency company, which essentially was handling about 200,000 annual reports every quarter. So very, very large amount of transaction. They were doing most of that, manually. They also have currently all these things coming in multiple languages. So the challenges that they had was they were multiple document types. So every different regulatory reporting requirement was completely different in terms of what the output is required and how the annual reports come through. They come in a variety of formats. Yes, they're annual reports, but they come into a variety of formats. They also come from different industries. So, you would also need different outputs. So for example, if it's a technology company, they're looking at, total debt, R&D, cash flow, etc. If it's a, airlines annual report, they are basically looking at passenger miles, seat occupancy, and utilization to a certain extent. So everybody has a different kind of goal to a certain extent. And what we were able to deliver to this client of ours essentially is a 75% reduction in the overall time spent while running and reviewing these annual reports. And so earlier they were spending anywhere between 4 to 8 hours to complete one annual report. We were able to reduce that down to 2 hours. Of course, our AI would push out the results within a couple of minutes, and then it'll give it to the advisor, who would go ahead and do the rest of the manual work that needs to be done to be able to package that to what they wanted to be delivered to the client. And we were able to deliver up to 80% accuracy within the initial couple of weeks. And this is a very fresh project that we have delivered fairly recently. And the accuracy starting point for Botminds essentially starts with an 80% plus minus with your 100 examples, and then it goes up from that point onwards. So I'll show you how this essentially look like. So here is our platform here. You would see multiple reports which are uploaded, the users which are there, they have been assigned to, and the various workflow stages that it currently is on. So I'm going to open one of the annual reports here. What it does is on the left hand side, it loads up the annual report as a smart report, as a smart document. This one has about 300 pages. And what was required in this scenario was to be able to extract multiple pieces of information, right? So we needed to extract information from balance sheet, from income statement, from cash flow statement, etc. So from balance sheet, there were certain attributes or the key values which were defined, and we were able to, we needed to pull that out. So from balance sheet, it is cash and cash equivalents and being able to find that value. Also, as you would see, the moment I click on the cash and cash equivalents, it actually takes me to that respective page. And you would see here, I'm on page number 158 of this annual report. And the information that I'm looking for has been highlighted. So a reviewer can actually see, what that information is. In terms of total debt, it's lease liabilities. It doesn't really say as a heading that it's a total debt. So, the lease liabilities or any kind of liabilities are part of our semantic engine. So overall, in here, there are a couple of models which are working. There is, a table understanding model. There is a semantic model, and there's an industry-specific model as well. That is working on to understand these statements here. Various of other details are, the currency of unit, income statement. So you go to the income statement and you pull that information out. And regardless of whichever page it belongs to, it'll go ahead and put that out. Now, this is great. We've got all this information coming in on the platform, but what can you do with it? Can we take it out of the platform at the moment? So you would see that, there is the, we offer our, downstream API integration as well. And you have multiple ways, and you can see that you can extract this into a PDF, into TSV or a CSV format. I will show you here a value extracted into a PDF file. So the moment I click on that, it downloads a PDF file, to me on the screen. I will open that up. And whatever we saw on the right-hand side, this is a format that was required, and this is a very fluid format. So all the information has been extracted, and not just the information, the context as in which page this was picked up from has also been picked up. So let's take an example here. I would go down to the selling and general administration and find out where this 42,434 value came from. So the moment I click onto the page which is being referenced, the reviewer would get the access, would be taken to our platform. That a very specific annual report would be open, and the reviewer would be taken directly to that page, to that line item, saying that this is where this information has been extracted from. So at this point, anytime you want to extract information, you have the ability to do that. You can definitely go ahead and verify that. So it completes your overall verification circle as well. So that's an example, on the annual reports handling tables. I'll take a second example now. This is an example where you have municipal bonds. This is a financial data provider, essentially handling a lot of infrastructure, government bonds which are being issued out. And they want to be able to process multiple documents. They were putting together a portal, which would be available in the market so that everybody can access it and make, investment decisions as required. And they were looking at, hundreds of attributes to be extracted. Attributes are data points that need to be extracted. Roughly looking at about 1 million plus, municipal bonds that need to be handled. And every single municipal bond document really is about 100 pages long. So the challenges here were, if they were to do this manually, they would have roughly spent about, almost a year, 9 months to a year to be able to do this manually with a large team that they would have had to hire. Standardization would have been an absolute issue. And of course, when things are being done manually, you have a lot of non-standard clauses, which are not predefined, kind of can go posed a lot of challenge, as well, because just because it's a variety, a lot of mainstream automation solutions really could not handle that. What we have been able to deliver to them roughly is about an 83% reduction in the overall time spent. So, we brought it down to 2 hours from overall 12 hours of work that they were doing. So the accuracy to begin with, from right out of the box from our system was at about 85%. And with human in the loop, they were able to bring the accuracy down, up to a 90%. Up to a 99%. And roughly offering a 60% cost saving, as against when it is being done completely manually. So I'll show you a demo of that now. So this is all the, municipal bonds, the documents that we have been kind of uploaded here. And when we look at, any one of these documents here, again, same logic, it gets uploaded on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you essentially get the summary of the information, slightly different from what you saw on the previous one, which essentially had all the tables here. Now, what our AI has done is our AI has, identified, our model has identified 3 separate candidates for basic information. And this basic information can exist anywhere in the document. So this is a 140-page document. I can click on the first, information that has been extracted. I'll be taken to the respective paragraph. I click on the second one and I'll be taken to that, location, and so on and so forth. What is interesting to see here is when we go down and look at, the settlement date, the settlement date essentially has no indication, around here, identifying that that's a settlement date, right? It's just a date. So that's where the model picks up and say, this is the best candidate for a settlement date. That's the data that you are looking for. And that's the information that, we have, brought that out. Same logic goes, you have, all the other key elements that, need to be extracted and, they are picked out. Once again, same thing goes in terms of extraction as well. You have the ability to extract this document, not just into an Excel file or CSV or a PDF, but also to do a downstream to your API connection. And what I'm trying to show here is that I showed semantic understanding, but it's not just either or scenario, right? You have tables embedded within the document. That's why it's an unstructured document. And you have the ability to just look at everything that's kind of available to pull that out overall. All right, so Ekta's camera is on, so which means I'm short of time. I'm going to push forward from here. All right. So next, if you look at the last example here would be your claim forms. And this is what I wanted to show, just another third variety, very small in terms of a preface here, multiple claim forms that come through multiple types of documents. The essential idea is that these are all long form documents, very complex, and certainly complex in nature, to be able to extract the information from, from the structured, semi-structured data as well. And we have recently been able to, go ahead and read the checkboxes which exist. So even ability to read boxes, checkboxes, etc. is there. In terms of a classifier, we can, right off the bat classify what type of document this is. So this is a claim form. This could be, your Aadhaar card, your PAN card, or any other kind of, form that is there. And depending upon what kind of document that is, the processing essentially happens. So I'm going to skip forward from the demo and cover the last 2 points that I think would be interesting for all of you. So how do we do essentially these pieces are the 5 pieces here. So we gather the information. So we have the ability to pull out from all the sources. We can monitor for changes anytime that there is a container there. You don't have to upload it afresh. We can monitor that. We read and understand, summarize the data, and of course, at the end, we validate as well. So every single model, every single document essentially goes through these 5 phases. And all I want you to take away from here are that there are 3 key phases here, right? I mean, in the overall AI for document understanding, even if you forget about Botminds, right? The first piece is that you need to be able to capture the knowledge, which essentially resides within the SMEs. So being able to import the documents, and generate, extract the value from there. Then the second part is your knowledge reuse. Once you've extracted that, what is it that we have learned, from the entire training of the AI model, that you should be able to reuse that and generate instantaneous summaries. What I showed you as part of the demo, of course, I had recorded this earlier today so that there's no network issues, but everything was real time, which means that the moment you click on a document, it gets generated on real time and shows it to you. And at the end, the key part that we offer essentially is the knowledge equity, that the model grows over a period of time, the accuracy continues to grow, even if the people change, the SMEs change, they get reassigned, the model essentially retains the entire knowledge, right? So to be able to evaluate any knowledge process automation product platform, I think it should be able to deliver these 3 key areas, right? In terms of a cost saving, you should have a tremendous amount of cost saving because it's not just RPA, it is AI. You should have increased your capacity to a large extent, and then your accuracy should be very, very good, 88%, 90%, and 99%, and up to that extent. So with that, I will hand this over to, Ekta for Q&A.
Thank you, Vikas, for the interesting session. So before we move on to a panel discussion, we are open for the Q&A. If there are any questions for Vikas, he can take that up. So I have already shared the guidelines for the Q&A. You need to raise your hands. I'll take your name, introduce yourself, your organization, and you can put your question to Vikas. So yes, Vikas, we have Vinit who needs to ask your question. Vinit, you can unmute yourself on your video and put your question to Vikas, please.
Hey Neha, hi Vikas. Sorry, wouldn't be able to switch on my video, but would it be fine if I can continue with the
Perfect,
audio?
no worries, no worries.
Yeah, okay. So I come from Accenture, okay, because and my team is called Business Excellence, Business Transformation. So we are into a role that we bring transformation to the client, and like you said, one of your examples that we are one of those organizations that bring and build those technologies from scratch, But then I really liked your entire concept, and I'm working on a similar project. So help me understand. There is a question that if we engage you as a third party, as a provider,
Yep.
in one of the large project, and if we are dealing with a financial services client, and you may not be able to take your technology inside the client environment. You may have to build everything from scratch within the client environment, and all the platforms like RPA platform, which could be UiPath in this case, because the client is a UiPath client, and I mean UiPath owned licenses that exist in the client. And then if you say that you need SaaS, client will get you the licenses of the SaaS platform. Tell me if you will still be able to deliver this product or this project.
Sure. So Vineet, thanks for the question. I think what I haven't covered is that we do a deployment on our private cloud or Botminds cloud, or we can do it on your private cloud as well. So if the client provides, Azure based, SaaS platform for us, we can absolutely deploy. The other thing is key is that the knowledge or the AI component essentially sits within that cloud. It doesn't come back to us and say, what do I do with this and do I translate that? So when we deploy into a cloud, which is just information stays with you, doesn't really move out, our AI essentially is deployed there.
Okay. So so because we are dealing with financial services clients, and financial services client has a lot of restriction when we talk about data privacy, data breach, and because that is the nature of the industry itself, right?
Yep.
So tell me if you have any solution which is outside cloud, because I have delivered multiple RPA projects which is outside cloud. There is no cloud involved.
Yep.
It is all client IT infrastructure, client hard drives where everything resides. Tell me if your product can be deployed as a desktop solution, not necessarily as an
on-prem solution.
Yes, not necessarily on a cloud solution. So tell me if there's a restriction, can you handle that?
Okay, so there is no restriction, but we don't have a ready-made, on-prem solution available because nobody's ever, needed that. But we do have all the pieces in our architecture. So if you do need, and that's the only roadblock that says, unless it's on-prem, I will not take it. We've got all the components in the architecture available, and within a short span of time, we can put that together and give you an on-prem solution as well. It's not a restriction from our side.
Okay, got it. Good. Thanks.
Okay, hope the question was answered. Because we have two more persons. Kiran has some question. Kiran, can you please ask your question? Or do you wanted him to highlight on few aspects?
Yeah, hi. This is Kiran here from Credit Source. See, there are some, we deal with all with investment banking and wealth management documents. And is there any model of data security, data privacy guidelines you want to share? Because this is kind of information which will actually the first question when we discuss with business, when we are talking about any kind of POC or involving any vendor or a third party. So if you can throw some light on a few seconds on that, that will be helpful to, have a dialogue forward.
Sure, sure. Kiran, is there anything specific that you're looking at? Because in my view, the privacy gets covered within the NDA, within the fact that the entire POC will be running on, dedicated cloud or dedicated SaaS, cloud for you. Are you looking for something specific in terms of a technology intervention?
Yeah, because we have about 30% of our platforms now migrating to on cloud, and some are getting migrated now into Azure. And we want to see how where this model will fit in. Is there any document or architecture where you said there's an API integration available as well? So how this will actually flow? The data will flow from our VNets to your environment, or it's going to come into our environment and into our VNets, and installation will happen.
Sure, that's a good question, Kiran. I'm not equipped to answer this at this moment. Is it okay that I contact you and send you this information? We have documents available. We have information available out of this webinar.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Vikas, we have one more question. We'll quickly take that question before we move to the panel.
Sure.
We have Kolol Chatterjee. Kolol, can you please put your question to Vikas?
Yeah. Hey, Vikas. I'm from S&P, and there is Standards and Poor's in the market intelligence division there. We deal in a lot in financial documents, right? That's the core of our business, and we are also toying with the idea of whatever solutions that you've put together. Two questions from my end. The first one being, once the model is deployed with whatever accuracy, right? So I'm assuming there is a UI that you provide to the customer. What I'm interested to know is, how does that accuracy improve from there? Is there a lot of interaction based between the SME and your folks, or this is just inbuilt in the model that the model is so advanced that it looks at the corrections or the misses that have happened initially, and it learns and then spits out in the future iterations, and that's how you can see the accuracy improvement?
Sure. So thanks, Carl. In this case, I think the first part really is the number of examples that are provided. What I haven't really touched upon is the transparent AI, which means that you are able to see the accuracy level of each of the attributes within the platform, within the UI that I just showed you as part of the demo, to see how accurate a particular attribute is. Now, when I spoke about an 80% accuracy to begin with, you're looking at 100 examples provided for a particular couple of attributes, but there were less examples provided for the other attributes, or the secondary attributes need more than 100 examples just because the model has not been able to get updated to a desired accuracy there. So that's how you're able to look at that. Now, the other interaction that happens is with human in the loop. So once you train the models, point and click training, we also have a bulk training that's available once you've done the initial point and click training. You are able to see what percentage it sits on, and then once you have tagged the correct things within the 100 200 examples, you will be able to start with that starting point of the 80% 85% accuracy. From that point onwards, the moment you put through a human in the loop, which simply says, okay, I have done these documents, I've trained my model today. Next 1 month, I'm just going to look at the data and just point the corrections, saying that the information that is supposed to be one paragraph, it's actually picked up one paragraph and a word. So I'm going to go ahead and mention that and say you just needed to pick up this information. The third piece is not really relevant. So that's the training and the feedback training that happens to the model back again, and that is where the model literally improves over a period of time. And that's a constant improvement that will happen, on the model.
Got it. Thanks, Vikas.
Sure.